Nanti sana kita start like.
Okay, dah record.
Alright. Assalamualaikum and hi. Today my group will be presenting case study 2, which is the topic why South Korean cars are cheaper than other car makers. So our group consists of 5 of us, which is Muhammad AMIRUL Shamir, NOOR FARAH NAJWA, Muhammad IRFAN HANIF, NURIL SYAZWANI, and myself Ruzanna IZZAT. Okay, so I'll proceed with my question, which is question A. Explain 2 reasons why South Korean cars are cheaper than other car makers. Okay, so first of all, as a short introduction about South Korea's car makers, Chung Joo-young or Jung Yo-jung was a South Korean entrepreneur. He was a businessman and the founder of Hyundai Groups of South Korea. Also, he was raised as the eldest son of a poor Korean farmer, and he became the richest man in South Korea till today. So, going back to my topic, which is explain 2 reasons why South Korean cars are cheaper than other car makers, it is clearly due to the first is the lower cost of production, and the second is the higher output volume. So, to begin, lower cost production means that a company that provides goods or services at a low cost. So, in this case, we can see that South Korean cars were also more affordably priced as certain models track the same platform. For instance, Hyundai and Kia. Some foreign car makers are believed to have set lower prices for cars destined for the local market than for export elsewhere. Additionally, the Hyundai Group has a production of 2.5 million units annually compared with Proton. And we can see as well as the South Korean manufacturers have economies of scale so that they are able to produce not at a cheap price but also in a more competitive and affordable price. So, the low-cost producers make use of their economies of scales to implement their low-price strategies. And this is why South Korean cars are cheaper than other car makers, which is clearly due to their lower cost of production and higher output volume. That is all from my part, which is question A. Thank you.
Okay, I will continue with, thank you, Ruzanna. I will continue with question B, which is with the bigger volume, the company would be able to grow its profit. Explain the above statement. Okay, my answer is the statement above that the bigger the volume, the more the company can produce and sell their product cheaper than other market rivals. As referred to the paragraph given, South Korean cars are cheaper compared to local cars, which is Proton. It is because due to their lower cost of production and higher output volume, South Korean cars can produce bigger volume of cars at affordable price, making the company can profits increase rapidly. With the profits, South Korean cars production processes become more efficient rather than increasing the price of the cars, which is the common things that other cars company would do. This case will affect demand curve, which is the demand curve of the South Korean cars in foreign country. The demand curve shifts to the right from D0 to D1 and assume the price is same with local cars, and the curve will mark as P0 and the quantity will increase from Q0 to Q1. In short, for example, the Hyundai Group will earn more profit when they achieve their economics of scale. So by the extra cost they earn due to their sales, it can be investing for a new machinery, additional labor wages, or more raw materials, improvement of the products. It will save more money on the average cost of each unit the company can produce. This shows that the bigger companies, the more efficient they can be to produce product and provide services at such at low price, yet still make a healthy profit. Lastly, by the bigger volume and increased output, the company can reduce their monthly or maybe yearly average of unit cost and can increase their profit by taking this advantage to keep company's growth. This also shows that the company involved may pay attention with their economics skills that outgrowing and getting too big, and remember that unit costs usually decrease when increase output, but only at a certain point, because after that it should happen, the company may begin to rise again, as the company may create unwanted inefficiencies. So it is important for company to also keep updated about the business growth so that no bankruptcy happen. Um, that's all from me. We'll continue with question C.
Thank you, Farah. Now will continue with the question C, which is discuss the source of economies in scale of relation to car manufacturing. In economic terms, source of economics was also known as input or factors of production. These factors consist labor, capital, natural resources, and entrepreneurial ability are needed by firm to produce goods and services. Goods and services are scarce. It is because the total of factor of production relatively are lesser than the unlimited demands. Firstly, labor, which is engineer. As for car manufacturing, it is a must to have an experienced engineer to make a competitive car model that satisfy the consumer demands. Secondly, capital, which is various sources. A firm or individual that had taken an interest in the car manufacturing and willing to spend some money to support the car manufacturing industries. And thirdly, natural resources, such as rubber to make tire. Hyundai Motor has many affiliates that contributing in Hyundai cars manufacturing in supplying parts such as hood and the tire itself. And lastly, entrepreneurial ability, which is talent for innovation. It requires talent and perseverance of an entrepreneur to expand brand through the world. Dealing with automobile parts company to make a better business deal in manufacturing cars, such as Hyundai Partex and Hyundai Mobis. Gain cheaper part to get lower the production cost. And lastly, affordable and competitive car price due to low production costs. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Shamir. I will proceed with question B. Is there a limit to economies of scale? Explain and give example. Before start, we need to know what is economy of scale and what is this economy of scale. What is economy of scale is when more unit or good or service can be produced on a larger with fewer input costs. While this economy of scale is occur when the average unit cost of production increase beyond a certain level of output. So the answer is yes, there are limits to economy of scale because those current cars are more affordable price than other makers due to their lower cost of production. According to economists Adam Smith, identified the division of labor and specialization to achieving a larger return on production. For instance, improve skills necessary to perform their jobs in a certain part, such as workers may become highly specialized in the design of cars. There are two types economy of scale. First one is internal economy, and second is external economy. Okay. First of all, improvement and optimization. NAJWA did not see itself as a threat to Proton as its main focus was on the multi-purpose vehicle segment. Second, managerial economy. This can lead to effective leadership because of employees can gain more experience and focus on what they are good at. Okay. The type 2 is external economy. Okay. They occur outside of a firm within industry. When an industry scope of operation expand due to outside development, external economy might result. Okay. Overall conclusion, internal economy of scale offer greater competitive advantage than external economies of scale. So subsequent car have a maximum scale of output can lead to increase the number size distribution of firms in an industry. That's all for my answer this question only. Thank you.
Thank you, Wani. So I will continue with question E. It was reported that Proton's declining vehicle sales was partly a result of the unexpected entry of cheaper South Korean completely built-up units into the local market. Explain the above statement with the help of diagram. Okay, for my first point, the effect of changing the price of goods, which is Proton cars, to the demand for replacement goods of the South Korean cars. Okay. As a proton based from the diagram, as proton price rising from the P0, which is original price, to the new price, which is P1, the quantity of requested proton cars decreases from Q0 to Q1. Assertively, South Korean cars remains at P0 prices. Demand for South Korean cars increased from Q0 to Q1. South Korean cars demand curve to the right from D0 to D1 D1, which means the South Korean the quantity of South Korean cars rising to the right. For example, assume that the price of a proton car is more cheaper than a South Korean car. When the price of proton cars rises above the price level of a Korean car, assume that the price of the South Korean car was not changed, then the price from the proton car will be relatively more expensive. The purchase of proton cars by consumers will be decreased, and the consumer will choose to buy South Korean cars. In conclusion, the demand for the Korean cars is rising. Next, for my second point, the connection between the price of proton cars and the quantity of South Korean cars. Based on the diagram, there was the price of proton cars and the quantity of South Korean cars. As prices of proton cars rise from P0 to P1, the quantity of us, which means the car requested for the South Korean cars increase from Q0 to Q1. A sloping line, which is the SS line, upwards from the left to the right, shows a positive link between the price of goods from the proton cars with the requested quantity of substitutes goods, which is South Korean cars. In conclusion, people will want more to South Korean cars when the price of proton cars rises. I guess that's all from me.